Hi, everybody. I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are having a great day today. If you're new here, I want to welcome you to School of Scarlet, the School of Unconditional Love. And if you're a returning subscriber or returning viewer, thank you so much for tuning back in. I'm so happy to have you back here today. If you're new here and you like this sort of content, stick around and watch this video. And if you like it, subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. So today we're going to be talking about the different flavors of life, and more specifically in a kind of an analogy way of what kind of ingredient we are, how we've developed, and I'm going to kind of use food to kind of describe this different flavors. And this talk can kind of go along with our relationship talk of our previous video. So if you haven't watched that one, you can go back and watch. I made a video around relationships and what to do after an awakening when it's just not working. What can you do? And so this will shed a little bit more light around why there's conflict, why things happen. And so we are each an individual expression of infinity. So infinity goes on and on and on and on. And there is everything encompassed in infinity. And we are all just one unique expression, fragment of that infinity. And we're expressing our uniqueness through this vessel, this person. So each of us is that. There is no one else on this universe that is just like you. There is just not, there's never going to be anybody else on this universe like that. So you are very unique because it's not just your physical body, your appearance, the way you dress, the way you act. It's all the experiences of life. It's everything that you've had has been poured into, let's say, this one ingredient. Okay, so we're growing, let's say we're growing, what could we be growing? Okay, let's say we're growing cacao beans, like chocolate beans. And so we are this bean. If we are going to just pretend here for a moment so that we can kind of put some pointers in place for this. If we are this cacao bean and we're growing, or the plant right now, there's going to be different experiences that cacao bean has as a plant before it, ever turns into that cacao bean. It's going to be watered. It might have storms. Things might happen in its environment. The soil might be sandy, or it might be really clay-like. It's going to go through different experiences in life that's going to shape that plant. That plant could be very healthy, or it could be kind of ill or have some sickness, or or maybe half of it's okay and half of it's not, or maybe it's lost a little bit of something, or it needs more nourishment, or so this plant has certain experiences that are very specific to it, and it's creating this ingredient, that cacao bean, out of all those experiences. And whether that cacao bean is going to turn out to be really yummy and good, it really depends on all of the experiences and things that go around the environment of this plant, and how that cacao bean actually is grown and how it actually turns out. So it's almost like us as humans, in this human experience, we go through life, we have experiences in growing up with our families, and we have experiences in school, we have experiences later on in work, in college, whatever you go on to do. We have all these experiences, how our friends treat us, how our family treated us, the things that we were indoctrinated with, the dogmas, things, religions, rules, the culture that we grew up in. All of this is our environment. Just like that plant has, maybe it got a lot of sun part of the summer, maybe it didn't, all this stuff. That's like us. We are being nourished, and there's things happening in our lives, in our environment, that's creating us, and we are already created, but this is how it feels if we're looking at it in a linear way. Now, so I'm just talking about a story here, but it's going in line with, what we see observed here in this human experience. And so that plant begins to grow, and it eventually produces that cacao bean. And there it is. And let's say that's you, and now that's you, that's a cacao bean. Um, Throughout life, things are still going to keep happening. Doesn't matter if you've had an awakening, doesn't matter what's happened, you're still going to go through life and experience different things. And so that cacao bean, maybe it has had awakening. Maybe it's been taken from that plant now and it's off in a different realm and it's doing something different. So it's switched to a different level of reality, but maybe it's not completely actualized. But now it's in a different level of reality. And this cacao bean might undergo the processes that it has to go through to become milk chocolate, let's say. That's the goal. And so it has to be let's say, washed, cleaned, maybe cooked, maybe has to be roasted, whatever the process is for this cacao bean. It's it's a difficult process. There's a lot to it, and the cacao bean is probably going through it, just like us in life, that we go through things in life. And sometimes they're not very pleasant. But if you notice, all of these experiences lift us up and we grow from them usually. And so that's just how it happens. And the process can be beautiful as well. So yes, you can just declare this and you can just shift straight into unconditional love if you want to. But you have to be ready for that. And let's say if you're not ready for that or you're not recognizing that, then you're going to go through life going through all of these things that are going to shape you, grow you, mold you, just like the cacao bean. And maybe there's going to be things that are needed to be added. Maybe you're going to need some milk. Maybe you're going to need this. You have it all already, but it's this play of life. It's just this play, this story. It's not even real. But you think all this stuff is happening for you to become this milk chocolate. What you don't realize is you've been milk chocolate the whole time. And not even that, you're also the chef. You're everything along that whole entire process of you becoming that. But you don't know that until you get there. But anyhow, the process of becoming milk chocolate is not a futile process. It's not for any reason. It has value in it. It has purpose. And in that, you can own your growth a lot more. So a slow process of life, of moving throughout life, is not a bad thing. So if you feel like, okay, this person, they did some meditation, something, and they became enlightened, and you feel bad about that because you've been in the spiritual community for years and you've been meditating for hours and hours and it hasn't happened for you. It's okay. Going along this process, you're still going to get there. There are many ways up the mountain. And so your process may be different than someone else's. That goes along with the uniqueness. Now, the uniqueness of your flavor at the time of this whole thing, you have to keep in mind as well. There's many components to this. We're very multidimensional beings. So we are, let's say, this cacao bean that's now been, gone through all these things, and we've now become milk chocolate. Let's say that we have gone through that whole process, and we're this silky, delicious milk chocolate. Well, yes, that's what we are. But in life of infinity, there are many other ingredients, many other flavors, and we can look at those as other people, as other characters in this life. And you might come across someone and fall in love with them or whatever, and you're milk chocolate, but they are their own individual ingredient, a separate, unique, very unique ingredient that was created over time just a certain way to be a certain way. And it was meant for that. And so that ingredient comes, and sometimes those ingredients, they don't mix, they just don't mix together. And that happens. And we just don't make friends with that person. We break up with that person. We're not okay with that person, whatever. Okay. But once you've realized that you are the chef, you're not just the milk chocolate, you realize you're the chef. And not only are you the chef, but you're just playing imaginary play. You're pretending you're the chef. You're pretending you've had all these ingredients and you're pretending you're doing all these mixtures. When you realize all of that, then now you can mix any ingredients together because you're the chef. So now you can take this crummy ingredient of whatever it happens to be. Let's say it's sweet potato, and we have our milk chocolate, and we can do something as a chef, pretending, and molding these together, letting them simmer, whatever we have to do to create something beautiful. So this is stepping out of being an ingredient. We're not just an ingredient. We're not just this finite little being. We're not just a flavor. We are so much more than that. We are the chef, and we are the ones that have imagined all of this and all of these mixtures and things that we do that work and don't work and this and that. We are the ones that decide. We are the ones that are in control of that. And we can imagine anything that we want. We can imagine that fish can go with chocolate. We can imagine anything and it will work. And so this is having a self-realization, realizing what you truly are. And from that space, you can work and alchemize with anything. And you can work with, like I say, your ingredients with people. We talked about this in relationships. You may have mixed with an ingredient that may not be one that works really well together. And so the only way to really alchemize that is for those ingredients to stay together for a while, slowly, like I talked about, the slow growth, and get to know each other and simmer together and kind of cook in the pot together for a while till those flavors begin to merge a little bit more and begin to become more of a oneness. And when those flavors begin to grow a little bit more and they merge and they almost become their own flavor together, a good flavor that you try and you taste and you're like, I like this. Okay, this is okay now. Then now that relationship is okay. It's stable. It can surpass time, And so, but it takes some time for these flavors to really merge and get to know each other and really become one. It doesn't happen overnight. So that's one way to really merge and become one in relationships and things like that. The other way to do that, that's the unconscious way. If just that's how people do it. But most people, you know, don't know that that's happening. But that's what happens when people continue to stay together through hard times and grow deeper and deeper together. Because a lot of people do go through a lot of hard times in their relationship and they don't break up, they stay together. And what happens in that is they get deeper, they get closer and deeper in their relationship. So that relationship is a lot deeper and more beautiful over time than something that just popped up out of nowhere that you invested nothing in. So taking your time on this journey of life is not a problem. Everything that is happening is not a problem. It's all okay. It's just whatever you want. If you don't want it to be slow, if you're tired of that, if you're just done with that, you can drop it all. You can decide to align with your true self and recognize who you are, remember who you are, and drop all that. But generally, we go through life, and even myself, even having this shift, I value taking time to really, work with someone, really understand what's happening in relationships, really try to merge and mix those ingredients to where they work together. And if we have to add a little something, take away a little something, that's okay. It's okay. It's a process of learning and understanding how these things work. And this is how we learn. This is how we learn and understand life. If we didn't go through these processes, we wouldn't understand life. We would be very confused. So, as these things happen in life, we learn. Now, at some point, if you're watching this channel, you're going to want to, probably focus more on enlightenment. Or if you're watching this channel, you've come across non-duality. Maybe you've had a glimpse. Maybe you're now in this non-dual state of being. And so what that is something completely different. So you're now taking ownership of everything that's happened. You see everything for what it is, an illusion. So we're going from being something, the ingredient, just a plain old ingredient, from being something. That's being the human, just the form, being something to nothing. And when you realize you're nothing, that, whoa, this is just an illusion. Like, oh my goodness, like I did not realize that this was this way. Okay, because it is. Everything is an illusion. It's just being projected out from within. And so we can see this now, and everything is coming together, even in the relative world, to show us this. So we can now see that. So we go from being to being nothing to everything. And when we become everything, what happens? We notice that everything was first an illusion, but secondly, we created it. We are the ones that put it into place. We are the ones that wanted to play this imaginary game. We just forgot in the dream. And that's okay. Once you realize that, you just laugh. So don't worry about it. It's not scary. So many people tell me, like, is it scary? This and that. No, it's you just sit there and laugh. And I've heard from many other people, it's the same exact experience. So this is the biggest cosmic joke. It's just not happening. And so when you realize this, that you're just playing with imagination, hey, what's there to do now? You can either just sit in the void or you can come play. So we're going to come back and play as this imaginary chef with all these ingredients and come together. And maybe, our relationship wasn't so good, or maybe our friendships weren't so good, or our family relationships were so good, or we didn't like where we work, or we actually wanted to move around. We didn't like to sit all day in this cubicle. Hey, now we can actually play with this thing because it's not real. So you can instantly drop that job, you can move, you can do whatever you always wanted to do without these illusory, fake constraints that you've put on yourself or other people have put on you in this illusion, and you've believed it to all be real. And so you think that, you have to follow these rules, that you have to do this, that you have to do that this is true, that, it's not okay to do this, that I need to wait a while to do that, it's not good to not work, that I can't just jump around. It's not okay for an adult to do that. So all of these weird things fall away. The dam breaks. And now you are totally free in liberation to really move around in this world as whatever you want to be. You can shift into a whole nother ingredient if you want to. You don't have to stay your same ingredient. You can now fix and kind of work with those ingredients and merge with your ingredients that you had already, like your friendships that you already had, your relationships you already had. You can merge with those a lot better now. You can alter your ingredient, their ingredient, whatever you want for those to work. Or you can leave it all behind and start something anew. It's whatever you want. So this is just kind of like a random explanation of enlightenment, but putting in a little bit of that essence of flavor, because we also have to realize that we are basically different ingredients. So every time you're mixing with another person, whether that's just in conversation or whatever it happens to be, whether you're getting married to them, you're merging ingredients. And so those interactions and things are going to be very specific, very special in that. You're going to have very unique experiences in each and every experience of life. So it's important to get out there, break some patterns, see who's out there, what's there to do. Everything, it's infinity. You could literally have everything you want. You know, there is no limit of time. There is no boundness that you have to be bound any which way or have to do this or that. No, you can do whatever you want in your life. So it's time to liberate yourself. It's time to drop all stories. These stories are not true. You've accepted them in your conditioning and your programming and your upbringing, and you've never questioned them. You've never even went back to question what you were taught. Why did your parents say these things? Why were you taught these things? As a matter of fact, I don't know if this happened to anybody else, but growing up, I questioned a lot of things. Maybe not verbally, but in my mind, I thought that doesn't make sense. I thought that many times. And I thought that as an adult too. And I had to kind of justify and like trick myself into believing certain things that made absolutely no sense. But this is something different. This is a direct experience. This is where the rubber hits the road and you feel it and you know it. This is an internal, within experience where you can see truly what you are. And this isn't something that somebody's going to teach you. I can't even teach you this. This is something that you have to experience and you have to be ready. This is why I say if you're ready to sign up for my course, you have to be ready. You have to be ready. If you're not ready, you won't get into the course. You have to be ready now. You have to be ready to drop everything. And dropping everything isn't scary. So many people think that they're going to lose their mind, not have family, not have a job, not have this. No, you're going to have everything you've ever wanted. You're not going to have the crummy stuff you didn't want. That job that you didn't want, this thing that you didn't want will drop away and you will have now everything you do want. So there's no fears here, guys. This is it. This is it. And so when you're ready, you're ready. You have to remember who you are. Think back to when you were a child, and actually this is a potent thing here. When you were a child and you questioned all of these things. Stick with that. I'm still questioning those things. They don't make sense. It's not real. Now, when you start to be around more things that are aligned more with unconditional love, or non duality, and things like that, it begins to resonate. You begin to feel it in your heart. You get out of your mind and you wake up. What's happening? The heart knows. The heart knows. The mind doesn't know. The mind only knows patterns. The mind only knows conditioning. The mind only knows its own experiences it's been through in this so-called illusion. It knows nothing about the void. It knows nothing about unconditional love. That's why so many people, when I say unconditional love, say, oh, that's not a real thing. There's no such thing as unconditional love. They've never tapped into it. They've never, it's the mind. The mind absolutely does not know unconditional love. It can only love conditionally. It really only can. So when you hear people say these things, they have never experienced unconditional love, which is your heart center, which is where everything is. Why does everything revolve around love, heart, all of these things? These are things to question and ponder. And the more you inquire, the more you can come to this realization. So, again, this isn't something that literally can be taught to you. This is something that you have to energetically feel around being around people that are expressing these energies, listening to these talks, questioning, listening to your heart, getting quiet with yourself, spending time alone. I really, really recommend that. I don't care if you're married or have a bunch of kids, you need to find time to be alone from time to time. You need to have time to think, but not thinking with this. Time to listen to your heart really is what it is. It's time to listen to your heart. You have to get to a still, quiet place. Stay there and don't be fearful. So many people are fearful of being alone. The most beautiful thing is being alone. What you find out is you are alone. So there's nothing to fear. What you fear the most is your greatest power. So being alone is not scary. It seems scary because what's hidden behind fear is always greatness. There's always something great behind it. And this is the greatest thing ever. That's why you're so scared of it. Go into yourself. Feel into yourself. Feel into your emotions, who you are, what you've really thought, what you've thought about life, what you've questioned, all of these things. Ask yourself, who are you? Why am I here? What is happening? Think. With your heart, listen. Ask whatever you want, but make sure you're listening to the heart. You'll begin to some things will begin to stir in there. And you'll know, But will you have the courage to go with your heart's knowing? Or will your mind trick you back into the game, into the illusion that you are this finite little ingredient that doesn't go with everything, that doesn't fit in anywhere, that only fits with certain things, that only some people like, that only can do certain things? Or do you want to break through that mold and become that chef that imagines and can move with everything, that basically is like a magician in the kitchen and can fuse ingredients, do whatever it wants with them, and have fun with it? Like a mad scientist, whatever you want to imagine, it's basically play. So if you want to go into that space, you have to go within. You have to listen to your heart. And when you know it, when you feel it, you have to take the courage. You have to have the courage to align with that. It's okay. Don't be scared. If you feel it, you're aligned with it. Stay there, align with it. Once you align with it, your whole paradigm changes. Like I say, you're no longer that ingredient. Your whole paradigm changes. You're not identifying as a little finite being with absolutely no power, no control over anything that's happening to your experience. You're just like a leaf in a wind. No. Now you're the wind, the leaf, everything. Forever, for eternity, for infinity. And you realize the beauty of it. You realize how you did it, how you're doing it, and it's magical. And at the same time, it's very human because you can experience all of this, but at the end of the day, what happens? Go back to your regular life. You go do what you do. But now you do everything consciously. So you're doing what you actually want to do in the ways that you want to do them. However you want to live your life, without rules, without, people pleasing, without thinking about, is this going to benefit me, not benefit me, what's involved with the money? None of these things matter, guys. These are all illusions. You are the money, you are the time. All of these things, you are that. When you tap into what this is, that doesn't matter anymore. Whatever you want comes to you. You don't go chasing anything. You don't chase anything. It comes to you when it wants to. and you just go through life. So it's a whole different experience of life. But you have to, like I say, go into your heart, listen. When you feel it, capture it. You have to have the courage to own it. And in that moment, say what you are. I am source. I'm everything. I'm universe. Whatever you want to say, you say it and you declare it. And at that moment, you are now aligned in your heart to unconditional love. And from that space, everything is possible. Everything is possible. So from that space, it's a beautiful space. Healing begins to happen. Everything begins to happen. Your dreams begin to happen. Whatever you want to do begins to happen. Okay, so you become now the artist of your life and the architect of your life, and you truly are building the life that you've always desired. It's not the life that your parents wanted. It's not the life that you think society wants. It's not the life that you think will bring you the most money. It's the life that your heart wants. It's the life that you want as this expression of infinity. Infinity wants to express itself. Let it express itself. And so in that, you can begin to express everything that you truly desire. So things will begin to happen in life. You're now aligned with this, and different things will begin to show up in your experience. This is where you take divine action. The right people will begin to show up. You know, I talked about this in manifesting. It's not just money. The right doctors will show up. The right, eye doctors, right dentists. I've had amazing people come into my life lately. It's just like they're just divinely just placed. I've had horrible experiences with doctors in the past and things like that, and just different situations. And now, I've come across these people that are just out of this world. I used to have doctors that wouldn't even talk to you, come in 5 minutes and leave and things like that. And now I have doctors that are my team. They say, I'm not going to let you go. We're going to work on this and that. Same thing for my husband. He was dealing with some health issues. So everything's begin to shift. My health is at optimal level. My husband is getting to that point as well. And it's just all of these beautiful things are happening. My daughter, same things, she's healing in so many different ways as well. All these things begin to happen. How? They just happen. They just happen every day. New surprises, actions, different things will come up, and you will have to take inspired action on them. Okay, you have to take action. So let's say that, someone comes and wants to talk to you, knocks at the door. Well, if you ignore that knock, you may have missed something very beautiful and interesting that was meant to come your way, something that you were manifesting. So you have to be open to everything. Be open to it. Allow everything to come in and give. So everything's about giving and receiving. And there's this beautiful flow with that. So then that's just how life happens. You just go about life doing the things that you want. And when you need something, it just shows up. So it's just a beautiful play of life. And yeah, there will be times in life that things are hard. There will be struggles. You're going to have days that you have a bad day, that you stub your toe, maybe you get in a car accident, something happens. These things happen. But make sure you're aligned with your true self. If these things happen and you're like, whoa, why is all this stuff happening to me? What are you believing about yourself? What's happening? So go back in and check. What do I believe about myself? What's happening here? And if it's not right, get back into alignment with who you are. Because there is only what you are. There's nothing outside of that. Everything else is imaginary. Everything else outside of that is illusion. So if you're believing you're something other than what you truly are, you're lost in illusion. Okay? This stuff that you see that's appearing, all these physical things, they're not physical. They're not physical. They're just appearing. And they just appear like they appear in a dream. And it's no different than that. A dream can feel very real, but it does not mean that that dream is completely real like that. Nor is our, waking reality. And science and all of these things are beginning to point to that. And so we begin to see all of this for what it is, and we begin to shift. And so this is time to really begin to do this, to focus inward in your heart. What do you want? Ask yourself, what do I want for myself? And do you have that? Are you living that? If you're not, why not? If you're going to come up and say this, that, and the other, I'm going to ask you, who are you? Are you just this finite little self? Or have you recognized your greatness yet? You are everything. You have it now. All you have to do is believe it and receive it in this moment. That's all. So I wish y'all the best and I love y'all. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, subscribe to this channel if you like it. This was just kind of a video that kind of came to me while I was just thinking about food. Lately, I've been thinking about cooking and things like that. So it just came about. But it was really kind of in line with relationships because we are each our own ingredient. So we have to think about that as well, you know, when we're merging and mixing with other people. But at the same time, realizing and recognizing what we truly are when we have trouble, because we are not in this powerless, limitless peasant state. We are not. We're the queen, we're the king. That's what you truly are. You have to recognize that. Time. Thank you so much for watching.